The sea no longer called as before. For years, Elias had woken before dawn, his feet hitting the cold sand with the determination of a man who belonged to the water. The ocean was more than his livelihood. It was his language, his memory, his inheritance. But lately, the waves felt different, not colder, not quieter, just distant, as if the sea itself had grown tired of him. The village whispered about his luck running dry. Boats returned with their nets heavy, while Elias came back empty day after day. Some said it was bad luck, others said it was time to retire. But deep inside, Elias knew the truth. He had lost the fire. That invisible current that once pulled him from bed with purpose had faded, and without motivation, each morning became heavier than the last. He remembered the promise made to his father on that final night. "You don't have to be the best fisherman," his father had said, voice frail but eyes still sharp. "Just be the one who never stops going to the sea." Elias had nodded, tears burning, holding that weathered hand one last time. But promises made in the fire of grief are easy to forget when the fire goes cold. The days without fish dragged on like a cruel joke. The silence of the waves mocked him. No matter where he cast his net, nothing came. And with each fruitless return, the village's eyes grew more pitying. He avoided the taverns, avoided the shoreline conversations. Shame hung on his shoulders, heavier than any catch he'd ever carried. Then came the morning he almost didn't get up. The wind outside whispered through the shutters, the sky still cloaked in indigo. His alarm buzzed weakly in the background. Elias stared at the ceiling, the smell of salt in the air, but he didn't move. What was the point? His arms ached, not from work, but from carrying disappointment. His hands, once calloused and proud, now trembled with doubt. But then something strange happened. He saw his father's boots by the door, old, worn, with the laces still tied just as he'd left them the day he died. And something clicked, not a wave of inspiration, not a surge of energy, just a decision. He stood up, not because he wanted to, not because he believed the day would be different, but because it was his job, because the sea might not call, but he would go anyway. Discipline. He repeated the word aloud, as if tasting it for the first time. Motivation was a visitor. Sometimes it came, sometimes it didn't. But discipline. Discipline was the home he built with his bare hands, the one that sheltered him even when the storms came. For the next several weeks, Elias moved like a man possessed. He rose before dawn, regardless of how he felt. Rain or shine, hope or hopelessness, it didn't matter. He cast his nets, he cleaned his boat, he studied the tides with renewed focus. Still, the fish did not come. But something was changing. He was changing. He began to learn again. He spoke to younger fishermen with humility. He tried different baits, experimented with timing. He listened more than he talked. His pride had been broken, yes, but in its place, he was building something stronger: patience. Then came the day of the full net. It was just before sunrise, a blood-red sky stretching across the horizon like a promise. Elias tossed the net out once more, like he'd done 1,000 times. He expected nothing, but when he pulled, the resistance nearly threw him off balance. The ropes strained, and his breath caught. When he finally lifted the net, it burst with silver life. More fish than he had seen in months. People from the village came running when he docked. Cheers erupted, hands clapped his back, and for the first time in a long while, Elias allowed himself to smile. But the real victory wasn't the fish. It was the morning he almost didn't rise, and rose anyway. That day, as he sat on the shore cleaning his catch, a boy approached him, barefoot, with the same hungry eyes Elias once had. "Was it luck?" the boy asked. "Or did you find a secret spot?" Elias looked out at the sea, then down at his calloused hands. "The secret isn't in the sea," he said. "It's in waking up even when you don't feel like it. Motivation fades, discipline stays. And with that, he passed the boy a fish, not as a gift, but as a lesson. One earned not in a moment of glory, but in the silence of routine, in the stubbornness of commitment, in the quiet belief that the tide always turns for those who keep rowing. Life lesson. Discipline isn't loud. It's the quiet choice to keep going when the world gives you nothing. And in the end, it's the one thing that never fails.